taking this thing back to the shop to get the engine back in it and transmission and all of that. Problem is, the steering rack that I ordered, it was a remanufactured one, and then 2-3 days later they wrote me back saying, hey, we actually don't have this part. So I was like, what's the lead time on it? And they're like, oh, we don't know, blah blah blah. So I got my money back and ordered a used one, paid for it, still hasn't shipped. So that's the problem. I don't have any steering, so it'll be a challenge to get it off and onto a trailer, but it is what it is. I'm gonna put the engine and transmission back in, bolt it down, and then bring it home and then deal with it from there. I just want to mount the cab back onto the frame one last time, torque everything down, and get the windshield in it. And of course it started to rain and I have no sunroof or windshield, so I gotta get going. All right, catch you at the shop. The plan is to lift up this cab one last time and put the engine in, transmission in, transfer case in, put all these parts back, drive shaft, rear drive shaft, front drive shaft, the exhaust, all the shields, AC lines, heat lines, shields, everything. Torque everything down, bolt the cab back onto the frame one last time. I'm going to be using thread lock just so nothing comes apart in the future. So this is exciting because it's getting closer to the end. Frame or the cab off the frame, I'm going to go ahead and replace this axle tube and put the axles in and everything. I'm still missing the inner axle that goes inside the tube, but it should be delivered today. This axle here can go back in. So let's get to work. axle housing on. Also have the cross frame, new part installed, all the holes lined up there. Got this other cross frame that holds the transmission mount here. Got it back in. This was the original piece, it didn't get damaged in the accident. Everything lines up. Right now I'm gonna work on the suspension, get the axles and replace the knuckle here, because from before someone welded that ear on and I didn't want to leave it like that. It looks like it's a good weld, but I'd rather replace it now. Also have a new hub assembly, new axle, new forget what that's called, but new everything. So let's get to work. I guess this can be ripped off now. Alright, much better. Alright, let's get to work. So you can see where it was welded from before. I mean, someone did a pretty good job, I guess, and it probably would have held, but the new one is just, no, this one's crooked, never mind, that would not last. But the crazy thing is, I bought all these parts from the dealer, you know, everything's OEM, and the holes, these little holes here, didn't have threads in them. But I guess you just run the bolt in and it cuts the threads. No big deal. This was smashed up. One of the bolts was broken, so I replaced it with one that was pretty close. Same size, but whatever. Alright, let's put this on. Throw the axle in, put this on, and go from there. Man, something about installing new parts just feels good. Feels right. New axle, new inner axle, new outer axle, new knuckle, new bearing. Need this nut here. I don't have that. Both sides of the axles are in. I'm going to go ahead and replace the fluid in the differential. I know it will be low because some of it leaked out when the tube broke, so, and maybe something got in, so I'm going to go ahead and drain it and replace it and reseal it. Let's get to it. got the differential sealed up again, and we'll give it about an hour and then fill it up with fluid, and hopefully not forget to fill it up with fluid. But in the meantime, we'll start prepping the engine to go back in or onto the frame. Swapped out the broken turbo actuator on the driver's side with a brand new OEM part. Adjusted that nut to the same length as the original one. I've got the motor mounts and transmission mount in place on the frame. I'm going to attempt to put the engine and transmission assembly back into or onto the frame. Let's do it. The engine and transmission are back on the frame and torqued down. All the mounts are torqued to spec, and I've run out of time. It's like 10 p.m. so I'll have to continue tomorrow, but all I have left is like the exhaust, drive shafts, and then a couple hoses here and there, and then I can mount the body back onto the frame. I was hoping to get all of this done today so I could get the windshield in tomorrow, but it looks like the windshield will have to be another day, which is fine. I'd rather mount the cab fully to the frame and then install the windshield just so it doesn't crack for any reason. But that is it for today. Let's continue tomorrow. I don't remember if I removed the exhaust first or the front drive shaft first, but I'm gonna put the exhaust on and I should be able to get to the drive shaft pretty easy. Let's get to work. got exhaust, the shields, the front drive shaft back on, torque down. I used some Loctite to hold it in place so nothing vibrates off. Wanted to point something out from the previous videos, if you don't remember how bad this frame was bent. So this frame got pushed and hit that exhaust. The exhaust shifted over and hit the transmission and broke this O2 sensor completely off. Look how much space there is between here and here, and then there's also a space right there. So the frame was bent pretty bad, but now everything lines up, no problems. Everything is torqued down. Now I can plug these in. Pretty much ready to put the cab back on one last time. I remember where this goes. We'll have to look into that. Oh, there's this one. Alright.
Tomorrow, you said around 11 o'clock should be in.
So all I have to do is secure this firewall shield, because I bought this firewall from the dealer, and as you can see, this is the original piece up here, and it has the studs, and the original firewall had the studs also. Like, there was a stud here, and then there was a stud there, you know. And the new firewall doesn't have any studs, so I'll have to drill some holes and secure this firewall in place somehow, because if I don't do it now, the engine's gonna be in the way and I won't be able to get to it. So I'm gonna secure it in a couple places and go from there. I was just going to drill some holes and put some of those plastic clips in it, but it might melt over time, and that will be a no-no. So let's secure it. Double checked everything. Everything's torqued down. Everything's plugged in as far as I can see. Almost forgot to put the coolant lines back. That would have been fun, because once you tighten down the cab, I don't think those can be installed or removed. Could be wrong, but I'm glad I remembered to put those back before it was too late. I think the cab is ready to be lowered onto the frame. Let's drop it. And just like that, the frame and the cab meet each other once again. Everything's torqued, everything's locked tight, all the shields are on, all the bolts are torqued. I keep saying that because I want to make sure that I didn't miss any bolts. I left the drive shaft out, the rear drive shaft out, because it'll be easier to move this thing around, because I cannot get it out of park without the interior being in and all the computers plugged in. So if I put the drive shaft on, I won't be able to roll the rear wheels. So I left it out. I can install that anytime. I'll probably install that later. But now it's time to lower it and plug in all the wires. But I think this is it for this video. In a couple days the windshield is gonna go in, and then I'll have to find a paint shop and get it painted, and then fully assemble it and start driving it. It's exciting. It's getting very close. Very close. Alright, until next time. Peace.